It's Daybreak. Now let's take a look at what's making the headlines on the papers from around the world this morning. And we begin with this day. It leads with the massacre in Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria. Says bandits massacre 40 in Sokoto market. It is also reporting that President Muhammad Buhari is declaring total war. Some of the riders there says their days are numbered. That's from the president. Troops kill 10 in Kaduna as well. Tambuwal calls for coordinated operations in state. Tom worries about situation in schools as US expresses readiness to help Nigeria. But above the nameplate this morning for this day is a story. Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan, Akinyemi, Mon, Powell commiserate with US government. Obagbina salutes a man who chaired event that birthed a RISE group. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell died yesterday from COVID-19 complications at the age of 84.
And from that, we move on to the Punch newspaper. And the leading headline in the Punch, APC convention under threat. Aggrieved party members cite ruling against Buni. Buni's panel not recognized by law. Activities will be illegal. That's according to a group in Ekiti. There's more for us in the Punch newspaper. On page 9, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says less than 4% of Nigerians will be vaccinated by 2021, touting Nigeria's fight against COVID-19 there. Moving over now, federal government budgets 104 billion naira to maintain purchase generators in 2022. That report is on page 19. There's more for us in the Punch newspaper. Many traders killed as gunmen opened fire on Sokoto market.
Well, to the Guardian newspaper now, it's leading with the political crisis in the ruling All Progressives Congress in Nigeria. It says Aregbersola's camp drags Buni, others to court over APC Congress. Another interesting headline this morning is coming from Delta State. It's responding to the UK. You recall that the UK had added 12 states as travel advisory for its citizens in Nigeria. The Delta State government is faulting its inclusion in that security alert list. And finally, on the front page of The Guardian this morning, tributes as former US Secretary of State dies of COVID-19.
And picking up from that in the Nation newspaper, the headline here screaming loud, insecurity, others, US joins forces with Nigeria. President Buhari eulogizes ex-US icon Powell. Top media chiefs for Guild of Editors Conference says. There's more here. Police no to end SARS protests in Lagos. Anxiety over likely clash of groups. That's 20th October will be 1 year since that event happened in 2020 when some soldiers opened fire on protesters at the Lekki toll gate. We're moving further now. The Nation keeping up with what's happening in Anambra State. Anambra 2021, Uba seeks courts now to visit Kanu in detention. I am best for Anambra, and the Uba says. And finally, from the Nation, Kanu slammed with more treason charges.
Interesting. A quick run through the foreign papers this morning. Financial Times leads on a story about Bank of England interest rate, which could increase as soon as November. And in The Guardian, the Prime Minister faces calls for David's law to halt online abuse. Interesting. Well, for the press review, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello to join us from our offsite studio this morning. Emmanuel, good morning. Great to see you. Morning. Well, Emmanuel, let's begin, as always, with our sister publication, the paper of records, this day. It's leading with that very horrendous, horrible, terrible story coming out from Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria. Bandits massacre 40 people. But President Muhammad Buhari is vowing that it's going to be total war this time around, Emmanuel?
There are those who listen to that and say, well, look, we've had this before. It's almost on a repeat. It's almost like a broken record. You know, there's a pattern now to it. You have an attack, then you have those tough talks from the presidency, then you have more attacks. And these days, reporting this on the day after it reported what the Wall Street Journal said, that bandits are so, they are very bold now, they are so flushed with all sort of monies, and they can almost afford to carry out any kind of threats that they have. Of course, it was denied, but almost like a rebuke to that denial. We're having the reports that we're having today, which is the fact that we have this massacre. It's almost like yet another day in hell for us in the country. But again, the way the president crafts his tone yesterday on this seemed to be like a new direction altogether. Also supported by the United States that said, look, we're going to supply more weapons, we're going to help you to fight. It's come to that. I think the country is practically now at a point where it needs to really ask or even practically beg for help. What these stories are showing, what these kind of reports are telling us is that it's really, really a very dangerous situation out there. Like I said, we reported what the Wall Street Journal said, we reported what the military said, that they never negotiated, and then of course, almost like a rebuke, you're having this backlash, and it's almost like a pattern now. Every other day you wake up and you are praying not to even see this kind of stories on the front pages of newspaper, but they keep recurring. And what is also recurring is the kind of reassurance that the federal government seems to like to give its people that, look, we're on top of this, we're getting external help, we're spending more on defense, we're on top of this. That's what the federal government keeps saying. But again and again, the kind of reports that we're doing shows that there's more to that than the reassurances that we're getting.
Emmanuel, it's interesting how you put it, a rebuke. The people say the witch cried at night, the child died in the morning. Who do we blame? Still in this day newspaper, Buhari, Obasanjo, Jonathan Akiyemi Mon, Colin Powell commiserate with the US government, and Obagbena salutes a man who chaired an event that birthed a rise group. Emmanuel, you want to talk to us about this great man, Colin Powell, who's passed on at 84?
Well, I think the tributes are out there, but I love the way we have personalized it on the in our stable with the publisher of this day coming out to actually not just see the man in his role as a statesman, as a politician, as a military, all the other things that people are saying about him, but how his personal relationship with him and how he also actually helped in birthing the Arise group. I think that's a very, very fundamental tribute that anybody can pay a man that was the first black U.S. Secretary of State. So that for us here has personalized the life and times of this great man. And although people can still we'll talk about one or two things about him, but we here are looking at the roles he played, not just in touching the lives of people around the world, but now most of us can claim to have a personal touch with him through what he did with the Arise group. That telling picture on the front page of this day, telling you that he's not just some story outside. It's not just an individual in some part of the world, but someone that all of us as individuals can relate with. And in his death, we can continue to talk about the greatness that Colin Powell is. And many stories out there since yesterday, tribute pouring in, and nobody wants to be left out. But I love the way we personalized it. He's a personal story to us as far as we're concerned. And he was a great man.
Well, let's move on to The Guardian very quickly, Emmanuel. What's happening in the APC? Some very disturbing and interesting headlines, depending on how you see it. I read Bashala's camp dragging Buni and others to court over APC Congress. The Guardian, Nigeria. But let me take some of the riders there to paint a better picture for our viewers this morning. It says, I will respond to your false allegation in due time. That's coming from Lai Mohammed. He's telling that to the Kwara governor. Stakeholders finger are mostly in cracks in Oyo APC. So we have Kwara, Oyo having crisis. And then Uzodinma conducted birthday party, not Congress, says Okorocha. Imo joins the list. And the list is endless, Emmanuel. APC, what's going on?
A lot is going on, and some of it are almost close to being comical. I saw this one, you were almost chuckling when you were reading out some of the things. I mean, Okorocha saying that it was a birthday party and it was not a Congress. And then you have the governor of Kwara State. I mean, someone that we don't really hear much from, but now coming out so boldly to tackle Lai Mohammed, you know, took very colorful figure out there. I even accused him of something very, it's not been reported in the papers, but social media is awash with those accusations that's coming from the Kwara State governor. So we're seeing a pattern to it. APC governors want to hold the aces, they want to be in charge, they want to be in control. They seem to be having all sorts of support from the chairman of the party, the Buni, who is also a governor himself. So he's aligning with governors, his colleagues, as against those who are also trying to hold the parties down in their state. We've seen an example of that between the Minister of Internal Affairs in another state, and then, of course, Lai Mohammed in Kwara State. So that is what seems to be the case. And APC is going to enjoy a lot of these stories on the front pages of newspaper because they are right now involved in all sorts of horse trading, all sorts of negotiation meetings. I think at the end of the day, they might want to consider a give and take kind of approach where they sit on a round table between the governors on one hand and maybe those who feel that, look, we need a bite of this cake. We need to be added to whatever list is here. Sometimes they come down to that kind of negotiations where they say, okay, give us some of your men, we give our own men. But whatever it is, I think PDP is having a good laugh at this whole drama and the turnout of this. But for the PDP, it's not also it's not all that's a beautiful story. They too are having the problem of consensus. The national secretaryship of the party seem to have run into waters after Anyanwu got a challenge from someone. So consensus is also not just working out for it, but they got it right with the national chairmanship. But APC is getting the heat after its Congress with all sort of drama. And I think in the coming days, as we run into the week, we're going to be seeing more stories to reporting and how they're able to come to a consensus around these issues.
We see this while the two big parties have a go at it amongst each other. Maybe the third and the fourth forces will step up and take charge at some point. Let's take a look again at the Punch newspaper. Federal government budgets 104 billion naira to maintain purchase generators in 2022. Emmanuel, the government doesn't trust its own power.
Again, it's a sort of story that you don't know whether you should laugh or you should cry. You don't even actually know what sort of reaction you're supposed to have to the stories where a government that is talking very tough about providing energy is also now telling you that, look, it could. And you know, Nigerians have lived with all this kind of thing. You go to what we used to call the NEPA office, and you see them using generator on the side as a backup, you know. And then I think there was a popular dramatic event one time when a certain minister of power sent his boys to go get the best generator in town to, you know, to fix at home. So, well, we are all dependent on the generator, on the generators. But when it's coming from the federal government and talking about the budgets they are making for that, Nigerians are bound to ask them if this is not double standard on one hand, or if this is not even lacking faith, like you put it, Kenneth, if it's not losing faith in its own ability to provide electricity for the people. And you cannot have any kind of development if you continue to depend on this generator economy, if people continue to develop. Okay. And the power situation is getting worse every day, people will tell you.
Indeed. Well, Emmanuel, thank you so much. We're all aware of that situation, but thank you for reviewing the papers with us this morning once again.